The UFC made their big announcements for the first fights on at Paramount starting in the new year with UFC 324. Let's go and take a look at it after the big announcements during halftime of the Thanksgiving Chiefs versus Cowboys game on CBS. And main event will be Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight championship fight. We just had the number one contender get an emphatic win not even 10 days ago, and this is what we get. You can see some of the comments lighting it up saying that the number one contender is Arman and he should be, if there's going to be an interim title fight, he should be the one getting it in. It looks like the reason for it, as we take a look from Ilya himself, won't be fighting the first quarter of the year, going through a difficult moment, doesn't want to hold up the division. I get it. And by the way, nice wholesome moment here with him and Max Holloway, former foes, showing a little bit of respect and empathy back and forth. So that part's great to hear. But you see, Ilya is not going to be around for the start of the year. I don't think that should warrant necessarily an interim championship if they're going to do it. Having Justin Gaethje, who has sat out demanding a title shot or retiring after he's 3-1, I think he's not just a couple fights removed from the Max Holloway loss. Had a nice win in the meantime, and then is right back in the thick of it. Paddy with a very nice dominant win over Michael Chandler. Them fighting each other is great. The interim championship being on the line for it is what's just absolutely blasphemy. For your first numbered, not pay-per-view, which they were sure to emphasize, not pay-per-view, numbered event for UFC in January under the Paramount deal, this is what you're bringing out for the main event. It feels weird. It's lackluster. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Just have them fight as the co-main event to what is the co-main event, arguably one of the biggest women's fights of all time. Kayla Harrison taking on Amanda Nunes, the return of the greatest of all time in women's sport versus the dominant Kayla Harrison, who has basically run roughshod through the UFC since she joined. Ridiculously strong Olympian. This probably could be the main event, and it's like, okay, not the strongest main event, but the rest of a strong undercard could do it. Oh, you have a future number one contenders fight with Gaethje and Paddy. That makes sense. They get the winner of Arman versus Ilya, however that works out, or the winner takes on Arman for that interim belt while Ilya takes care of what he needs to. This is a great fight on paper. Amanda Nunes returning. She basically ran through the entire division, multiple generations of it. Champ status, has beaten the who's list. Coming back to basically, it seems like to regain the throne, regain a little glory. Maybe missed a little bit of the action. Maybe she retired because it felt too easy and is now coming back. But either way, this as the main event would be a little bit lackluster, but it would make a lot more sense than what we were getting. Like, this is a great fight. This is a fight that we all wanted, but this interim lightweight championship, it as a main event just feels weird. Because what happens when the winner of this one, and then you have Arman sitting in purgatory, is the interim champion going to defend the title before we see Ilya return? This is the same thing we saw with John Jones, Aspinall. What about Ilya, who's talking about wanting to fight Makhachev at 170? This opens up a very weird can of worms at this point. These two should fight. Then the winner will deal with the winner of Arman and Ilya, or the winner will take on Arman for that interim championship, however they want to figure it out. This, though, is just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. For your debut on Paramount, it's already, like, it sounds great for maybe new people bringing in, but who are already the fans of the sport, especially the diehards who've been around for a while, like, what is this? What are we doing? This is just odd. But the rest of the card, I like this fight. Song Yadong versus O'Malley. This is a great towards the top of bantamweight scrap. It's Song Yadong's as greedy as it comes. He's going to push forward. We know Sean's sniper, elite stand-up. This is a great fight. Even this one, Cortes Acosta versus Derrick Lewis, absolute banger. Cortes Acosta trying to get himself into that category of can I fight? Well, fighting Tom Aspinall, serial gone next, trying to base. Really, if he wins this and what they do with Volkov, he could be right in the thick of it. He's already up to number 5. Derrick Lewis is the ultimate almost gatekeeper. Anyone who is a fraud, Derrick Lewis will check them in record time with his power and ability to shut the lights out. This is a great fight for Cortes Acosta and Derrick Lewis. Like, this part's great. Like, these are some of the ones that I really like here. And then we also got this absolute heater announced on the card as well. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Deiveson Figueiredo. Umar really just needs another win before he tries to go after get another title shot. This is the perfect one. Some of the comments maybe don't love it, but I think this is perfect. Deiveson's a really good top 6 opponent that he should beat. I'm pretty sure he's going to be like a minus 250 favorite, something along those lines. Deiveson's dangerous, but Umar could wear him down very easily. Maybe after the first round and some change, he should be able to cruise. If he wins easily, I think he'll get that rematch with Merab, or he will fight Jan, depending on if Jan's able to pull it off. But I think this makes a ton of sense. UFC 324 looks really good on paper, minus that interim championship main event with the 4th and 5th guys. One guy who was threatening to retire, basically, and one guy who's on the come up and really needs another big win before he's in that situation. It really feels like we're not going to see Ilya at 155 again, how this is going to play out. He's going to have that stuff to go with. He's going to vacate the title. He's going to come back later in the year and demand the Makhachev fight at 170. Feels like this is all just in the making. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope whatever he's going through, like we could tell just the way he worded it, it's going to take some time. He'll let them know he's ready to begin his return, hoping for all the best. But at the same time, I don't love the way this whole thing in lightweight is shaking. I give so many contenders, so many big fights to make, and they're kind of getting swindled because we still have Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway out there. We still have some other great fighters out there. And at 170, we got some great fights out there. But we're going to get to that in a minute. We're going to take a look at the other matchups that has been announced for the UFC on Paramount 325. The fight that absolutely nobody wanted, even these two I don't think necessarily wanted. Alexander Volkanovski rematching Diego Lopes after beating Diego Lopes a few months ago to capture the vacant championship. Volkanovski is getting old, man. He's like 37, 36 now. He only has a handful of fights left. Having him run it back with Diego Lopes is just absolutely silly. This is where we should be trying to get him. I know if Merab wins, I know Merab said he won't do it, but maybe you throw the right amount of money at him, we get Merab and Volk at 145. Should be trying to get something like that. You have legit contenders. Lerone Murphy is right there. I understand not putting Movsar Evelev in there. He literally has more. He's pulled out more times than you know what? Not gonna make that joke. But he has more pullouts than fights that he's showed up to. I get not putting him in there. He's at this point he has to fight. He has to fight again. He has to show any level of consistency or reliability. But Lerone Murphy is coming off an outstanding first round knockout. He should be. Him and Volkanovski is a great fight to put in here. His record speaks for itself. He's absolutely sensational. That should be the fight to make. Diego Lopes, maybe him and Movsar Evelev too is a great fight they can make in the meantime. This is a waste. This is just plugging in a title fight out of the gate to two guys who they knew would say yes because they're that dude each. So they knew they could make this one. This was basically a plug and play safety net. Don't really love the fight though. It just doesn't make sense for either one of them. Doesn't make sense for the division. There's so many good matchups there. And at 170, there are so many good fights too at 170 that could be being made or worked on in the meantime. And this kind of goes to a little bit we were talking about is, are we going to see Islam basically hold out and then try and go for that? But, let's take a look here at the 170 rankings. We know Islam Makhachev, number one champion, Jack Della Maddalena took the title from him. Ian Gary's coming off an outstanding win over Bilal Muhammad. He has beat Carlos Prates, who was ranked number 6. He has 2 wins over the guys towards the top. Ian Gary and Islam Makhachev is the fight to make at 170. Ian Gary is incredibly easy to hate. And not even like in a good way you expect him. Like he is kind of a twat. Yeah, that's the easiest way to say he's a twat with there's a lot of reasons to root against him. He did lose to Shavkat, but Shavkat has not showed up to work in over a year. He got injured and disappeared and has sent more tweets than he's landed significant strikes in the last 400 days. Like we can't have that right now. So Shavkat needs to fight. Give him anybody up here. Give him Kamaru Usman. Those two could fight because I know they're talking about Kamaru and Islam. That doesn't make a lick of sense. Kamaru Usman is 1-3 in the last 45 years. Make him fight somebody else. Michael Morales versus Carlos Prates makes all the sense in the world. 2 absolute knockout artist monsters that those two could fight for potentially a number 1 contender spot, depending on what happens with Shavkat. Ian Gary and Islam. I hate Ian Gary so much. He's such a twat douche, but it just makes sense. He's earned it. Him and Islam's loosely interesting if he could stop Islam from just wrapping himself around his legs and taking him down relentlessly. It gets very interesting. Shavkat, Kamaru Usman, I think that's a good, fun fight. If Kamaru really wants that late end of his career title belt, he's going to have to take out one of these guys up here at this point. It's been 4 years since he's 1-3 in 4 years here, or something along those lines, since losing to Leon Edwards. He needs to get back in the win column. We need to get him rolling in. He did give Khamzat Chimaev a good fight. I know, I remember all that. He did lose. They took it on short notice. It was great, but we still need one more win to get him up there, I believe, to jump some of these other guys. The division is just so loaded. If you were talking if he's in this situation like light heavyweight or heavyweight, you can make that case, but there's so many contenders at 170. Bilal versus maybe Leon Edwards part 2, although that one's not exciting. Joaquin Buckley, Sean Brady, there's some other good fights to make in there, but the top of this division is outstanding. 155, we're circling back here. We already talked about it. Paddy and Gaethje 4 for 5 for the title feels just disgusting, especially when Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira is right there. They've called each other out for the BMF. That could have been the BMF and interim title fight. I wouldn't have loved that, but I'd have preferred it over 4 and 5. Arman's sitting right there. They had so many missed opportunities. Gamrot, St. Denis, there's some fights you can make in here. the UFC is not starting off strong in 2026 with the Paramount deal. The good news is though the numbered events are not pay-per-view, so that is at least the silver lining we are getting out of this. So even though we will be seeing this as our first numbered event main event of UFC the UFC on Paramount deal, is a little gross, but it's a good fight. We're gonna be excited. We're gonna see it anyway. But let us know down below what you think of the UFC on Paramount's early fights. Hopefully, it means they're setting up some real bangers down the stretch, or they're trying to put a lot of people on ice for that White House card, and they're gonna try and go ballistic with that. I don't know. We will see. But we at this point, yeah, this one just kind of feels like a turkey match at this point. But let us know down below what fights you're looking forward to with the Paramount deal and what you all think of UFC 324 and 325 announcements, and we'll see you all again next time.